Hey, shout out to all my YouTube family. Shout out to everybody who comes out. Shout out to newcomers, whoever's on the channel at this point in time. I appreciate you. Appreciate all the comments. Appreciate everything. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can get the newest and the bonus content first. So let's just go ahead and jump right into what needs to be talked about. So let's talk about things we can be encouraged by when it comes to the Clippers. You know, the Clippers right now, as I said in my several previous videos, the Clippers are between the 7th and 9th seed is pretty much where they are right now. And it's pretty much probably where they're predominantly going to stay, at least going forward for the next probably couple weeks or so. If they could find a way to get to a 6th seed or something like that, that would be really good, because that might give them a little separation, a little bit distance from the 8th seed, and put them in better position to, be more flexible, if you're in the 6th seed or 5th seed or something like that, if they were able to get there, which is definitely would be hard for them to do, it would give them a little bit of separation. Whereas if they lost a few games here and there, they still would be able to be in contention, or they will fall to the 8th seed. Right now, I think they're in the 9th seed, which would be the play-in tournament, which is, not too bad of a place to be in, based upon where the Clippers are. We all know that they don't have Kawhi and PG, and other players are, ailing injuries. And COVID is still, out there as well. So, you definitely got to take that into account. I like the fact that Luke Kennard actually made it back, from his COVID issues. And, they had other players come back as well. And, looking at the team and the way it's constructed right now, I feel like they still are good enough to win some games and keep afloat between the 7th and 8th seed. I don't think that this team is a play-in tournament team. Even without Kawhi and PG, I still think they got some valuable pieces there that can, help them win games. Now, of course, that can change in the next couple of weeks if any trades are being made. But I've said before, I'm not sure if any trades are going to happen. I think they're going to stay put where they are and maybe try to run back what they have, or what they, or what they had last year going into this year. So hopefully, that transpires in a good way for them. But the things you have to be encouraged by, I want to say this specifically. If you looked at last night's game versus the Nuggets, I think the score was 128-130. It almost was damn near like a classic type game. It was back and forth, a lot of runs. Runs were being made, and the Clippers came out, really with the right mentality. They came out, kind of sort of, with the mentality of, we can beat this team again without Kawhi and PG. That's almost like the mentality they played with. And for the score to be 128-130, and you get contributions from players like Zubac having, I think 32 points. That is impressive. That's overly impressive, because you don't expect a player like Zubac to play like that. And I've said before, I said a couple years ago when I watched Zubac play, this is when he was actually on the Lakers a few years back. So I said the kid had a lot of talent. I always liked Zubac. I always thought he was an old school type big man, but I thought he was a big man that, brought a lot of, decent intangibles that can help a team win, if he just developed his skills and got better with them. Because right now, even back then to now, I feel like he has a lot of good raw skills. I don't really feel like his skills are seasoned and touched up the way it should be by now, since he's been in the league several years now. But it still, when you see a game like that from Zubac, you have to be encouraged, because it lets you know what he's capable of doing. And he did that against the reigning MVP of the league in Jokic. He was really going at Jokic. No problem. Turnaround, spin, decent footwork, catching in the lane, throwing up, little floaters, hook shots, getting garbage baskets. He was doing a little bit of everything that the Clippers needed. And this is why I said, if he could play like that going forward when Kawhi and PG come back, well, they really are going to be damn near unbeatable. Because if you look at the way they played last year, as long as you got Kawhi Leonard, you got a chance to win a championship. I don't care what nobody says. That dude, when he's healthy, he is top 5. He should be a top 5 player in everybody's mind when he's healthy. I don't care if you like Kawhi Leonard or not. He still should be a top 5 player to you in my estimation, because he's the only player I said many times before. He's my favorite player, but he's the only player I said many times before where if I need Kawhi to go lock somebody up, for a half, a quarter, a whole game. It doesn't matter. Kawhi is the only player I can say, go get him, and he locks him up. He will lock up the other team's superstar, whatever he needs to do to help his team win. And that's what he did last year in the playoffs against the Dallas Mavericks with Luka Doncic. Luka was having all these great games, but then the last 2 or 3 games of that series, Luka wasn't looking as great. And Kawhi just showed everybody who was the best player on the floor. And he was scoring 30 points efficiently on the other end, shooting like 12 for 15, 12 for 16 from the field, and damn near barely missing. So it's like, when you have a player that can do that, he's top 5, and he's definitely can put you in contention to win a championship every time he's on the floor. So you add that with Paul George, who can go out there and put up numbers as well. And like I said, you get contributions from people like Reggie Jackson and places, people like that. But if you can get contribution from players like Zubac with that type of ability, I'm not saying 32 points, but if he can give you a solid 18 to 20 a game consistently with about 9 or 10 rebounds, or something like that, or maybe I'd say maybe 17 points with like 10 rebounds. If he can give you that consistently and play at a high level, then the Clippers definitely got something going. And then, you have to look at, then of course you have to look at Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson definitely gave you, his 28 points. The last couple games, he's been playing pretty good. He's been in a slump really for the last month or so, but I mean, these last couple games, he's been playing up to the capability that a lot of people know that he can, and it's definitely good to see, because a lot of people were waiting to see exactly like when is he gonna turn it around, because what he showed last year in the playoffs, he should be mimicking that all this season going into the playoffs this year, with or without Kawhi Leonard or Paul George being on the floor, whether they're there or not. So, seeing him put up the 28 points, and I think he had 26 the last game. So, I think, he's starting to hit his stride a little bit, which, the Clippers definitely going to need that, hopefully, if he can continue. But that's definitely encouraging as well, because you want to see him step back into that mentality of, I can go out here and put points on the board. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the mentality he had in the playoffs last year, and everybody fed off that. Everybody just did. That's just the way it was. Everybody fed off that energy, and I felt like that energy helped propel them through series where, a lot of people thought they would lose. And, I definitely think if he can, sustain that and keep that going, I definitely think that is, something that can help the Clippers. Definitely encouraging to see. And then you get Brandon Boston. He played like 25, 27 minutes somewhere in there, and he did give you about 16 points, very good production. Gave you a couple of assists, couple rebounds, and like I said, when you see a young player like that willing to go out there, and it seems like he's learning, it seems like he's getting it, seems like he's learning the process, and he's catching on pretty quick. And it seems like he's fearless at the same time. That definitely gives you a lot of encouragement, seeing a player like him, come out there and play to the level he's playing, or that he played last night against, a team where they did have their MVP in Nikola Jokic, and they had some other good players. I mean, honestly, the Nuggets came out, hitting some shots and, doing some things. I felt like it would discourage the Clippers, because I felt like the Nuggets wanted to get revenge from that other night where they blew a lead to the Clippers. I think it was like 20 something points. And, for the Clippers to come back out there and play the way they did, knowing that their back was against the wall and knowing that this was a revenge game for Denver, they played very, very well, very, very encouraging as a team and as a unit. And, that tells me that Ty Lue is pressing the right buttons on players, pulling the right strings, and getting them to understand what's in the moment. You don't have Kawhi and PG. You can't worry about them. They're an afterthought. They're not here right now. Until they come back, that's the only time we worry about what they can do for us on the floor. We have to be accountable for what we do on the floor while we're out here, because we're the ones that's on the floor with the jersey on, playing the game that's scheduled for us to play. And that's the mentality I think that Ty Lue has, beaten some of these young guys' head on this team. And they got veterans on there still. When you think about it, they still got Ibaka out there who's still getting his footing. And, he's starting to look a little bit better. I think he had a couple of blocks on Jokic and knocked out a couple threes, which is encouraging to see. And like I said, then they had Luke Kennard, he's out there, getting his footing back. And you never know. That's what I'm saying. Like, when you look at this team, they got veterans, they got players out there, and they're a really, really deep team. You got Terrence Mann still. Like I say, you still got Luke Kennard. Brandon Boston's coming into his own. Amir Coffey has really stepped up these last several games. I don't think he played particularly great or well last night, but he has definitely been somebody that they have utilized a lot these last several games, and he's been producing pretty well. I mean, so looking at his progression along with Brandon Boston, got to be very, very encouraging for the Clippers to see that, especially knowing that they are depleted and they don't have their major hitters, but they definitely got some other players that are willing to step in and play well. And I'll even give Eric Bledsoe, a little bit of credit. He played about 25 minutes or so and gave 13 points. Himself, he did get double figure points, which is good. Definitely a contribution. And Isaiah Hartenstein is just definitely all energy, all gas, no breaks type dude. We definitely appreciate guys like that, because them energetic type guys like that, they definitely give you that boost or that lift sometime when the team is just dead and the team is just playing like they're zombies or like sleepwalking. He's definitely the type of guy that can rev the engine up and rev that motor up and get everybody going and put the juice back into the engine so everybody can keep it going and keep the flow going so they can get through games and give them that lift to help them win games sometimes. So I definitely appreciate players like him. I always have, because I feel like you always need that energy type guy on your team that just does the dirty work and the things that other players can't or don't want to do. He does it willingly, and he does it with a smile on his face, and he enjoys what he does. And you definitely have to appreciate guys like that. You really do. So I definitely appreciate what he brings as well. And like I said, overall as a unit, man, they are really good defensively. I don't think a lot of people look at how good defensively they are. Now last night their defense really didn't show that well, because it was just a shootout, basically 128 to 130. It was great. I mean, down the stretch of that game, I thought it was going into like a overtime or something like that. But it was definitely a very encouraging game. Definitely very encouraging game. Or excuse me, I meant to say I thought it was going to go maybe into like double overtime or something like that. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely an encouraging game for the Clippers, more so than even the Nuggets, because the Nuggets had their best player on the floor, even though they didn't have Jamal Murray. But your best player is Jokic, and to be an MVP of the league, he definitely showed it last night. Gotta give him credit too. He had like 49 points, almost 49-point triple-double almost. So, you gotta give him credit too. But and plus the Nuggets did come out with the victory, so you gotta give them credit, for that. Shout out to them. They did get their revenge by getting the victory, but it was a nail biter. It was close. And that's exactly what the Clippers wanted. They wanted to keep it close and give themselves opportunity to win the game. And they really did give themselves a really great opportunity to win that game, and lightning almost struck twice, in regards to for the Clippers and the Nuggets, because like I said, the Clippers beat them a few nights ago and they were down by like 20, 25 points, and the Clippers would have pulled out last night's victory. Now, you really have the mental edge over that team. So, it's like, it's one of those things where, you have to take a lot of positivity out of that game to see, what you have going forward. And the Clippers, what they have going forward, if they can get some consistency out these guys, they really just need to probably keep what they have. Now, I will say this, Marcus Morris is definitely one of those players I think that name is out. The name is out there in regards to, maybe trading. But as I said before, I don't know if the Clippers are going to make any trades. It might just be all talk in regards to that, because I don't see what they really can do or what they can really get back in regards to giving away one of their core players. To me, like I said, if you give away a core player, you better get something back in return that is as good or better, not something lesser, because that's only going to, hurt your chances of getting to your ultimate destination, which is wanting to win a championship. So with that being said, you got to hope that the Clippers understand that, what they have is good. If they go to make a trade, definitely it needs to be an upgrade, not something fair, not something good, not something adequate. No, it needs to be an upgrade. It needs to be better than what you have. And that's really the notion they need. They really don't even need to get a player as good, because that would just be, a waste of time, I would think, technically, because, if you have a player as good as what you have, you might as well keep what you have. You know what I'm saying? So I take that statement back. No, they need to upgrade and get something better than what they have. So if they let go of Marcus Morris or whoever they decide to trade, Eric Bledsoe, whoever, they better get somebody better than that. And like I said, me personally, if I was them, I'd try to trade back for Patrick Beverley and give Eric Bledsoe to the Timberwolves Wolves and let him finish his career out there, however long it's going to be. Me personally, that's what I would do if I'm going to make one of those mediocre, splash type trades. Just get Patrick Beverley back, bring him back home to LA where he belongs. And, now they'll really be even a better defensive team than what they are now. And maybe if you see any other trades out there, go for that. But last night's game definitely was encouraging. We've seen some things in last night's game that I pointed out. Like I said, definitely Zubac, definitely Brandon Boston, of course, just the way the team played overall. And, I just hope they continue to play that way. I hope they continue to play with that fight and that urgency, because I've always said this team is best known for next man up mentality, and they have lived up to it more than any other team in the NBA, if you ask me. They really have. And I really have to, say that they've done that a lot. And even though they lost last night, seeing that type of gameplay from them, it just shows you what type of talent and how much depth they have. And this is why I said if Ty Lue can find a way to keep this team afloat, just in regards to, how they're playing and what they can do as far as their contributions and things like that, these other guys, they can win some games. They can surprise some teams and beat some teams and win. Coming back down from 25 points the other night against Denver Nuggets is impressive. Not a lot of teams can do that. Not a lot of teams can do that with their star players on the court. So when you look at that all on its own, that's a very impressive thing that the Clippers were able to do. And, keeping this game afloat last night and being in contention of winning this game again against a team that has their reigning MVP in Jokic shows how impressive, shows how deep the Clippers are. So the Clippers have the team to stay afloat, at least stay around the 7th and 8th seed to, get into the playoffs. And hopefully, Paul George will be reevaluating in a couple weeks. And the notion is that they're letting him rest a few more weeks before they put him back out there. So hopefully, he rests a few more weeks, comes back and be ready to go and ready to play, and ready to help the team make a run. And hopefully, their leader in Kawhi comes back and follows, and, hopefully he comes back 100% and definitely put this team on his back along with Paul George, and hopefully they take it the distance. But hey, that's my take on the situation. You leave any comments in the comment section as always. And hey, Khaliis out.